If you're looking at buying a gaming headset but don't want to spend over $50, then here I have 3 that are well under that. These are the Ampli-Game range of headsets from Fifine, and here we have the H3, the H6 and the H9. Each of them geared towards a different type of person, and these actually had a feature that really surprised me when I tested them. So which one of these should you get, and are they any good? Welcome to my tech gear. Let's get into it. Now, whilst they are 3 different headsets, there are some commonalities, some common designs and some common features across all 3. They all come with 50mm dynamic drivers in the speakers themselves. They all have detachable mics. Now, that's a really cool feature and something that you don't often see on cheaper headsets. They have braided cables, which means they're going to stand up to a fair bit of punishment and be good and long lasting. Now, the design of the 3 is fairly similar as well, in so much that if you look at the headbands themselves, they're all covered in this stitching and this faux leather across the top. The only difference between the H3, the H6 and the H9 for the headband is that the H9 has Fifine written or embedded in the headband across the top. They are relatively the same size. There's a little bit more curvature to the headband on the H6 and the H9s. That means that the clamping force on your ears will be slightly less on the H3s than the H6 and the H9s, but none of them were really uncomfortable, and I've happily worn all of them for hours at a time. Moving on to the ear pads, they are all covered in this nice soft faux leather with a nice amount of padding. Shape-wise, they are slightly different though. The H3s are the thinnest of the 3. Moving on to the H6s, and they're nice and wide, so definitely wider than the H3s. And finally we have the H9s, which more or less are the same size as the H6s. H6 and the H9s will be more comfortable if you have bigger ears. Smaller ears, the H3s are fine. So comfort wise, I found all 3 of them to be quite comfortable to wear. The H3s, when you wear it, really nice and comfortable. Padding just sits on your ears. I don't have the drivers touching my ears. Nice and comfortable on my head. If I now switch that to something like the H6s here, again, nice and comfortable to wear. You do notice the clamping force on the H6s are more than the H3s, but still comfortable to wear. Moving on to the H9s, similar kind of fit to the H6s. I do notice they don't quite sit as flush on my ears as the H6s do. Like, there's a little bit of a gap under my ear. Weight-wise, they're a similar weight. We've got the H3s are the heaviest, they're 350 grams. You've got the H6s, they're 330. And then you've got the H9s, which are 260 grams or 325 grams, depending upon whether you include the dongle or not, and I'll get to those things in a minute. Now, whilst they all do cost around the same amount of money, and they're all from the same company, and they might look similar, they do all sound very different. The H3s, well, they're definitely the boomiest out of all of them. It has a very, very bass heavy profile when you listen to them. For some type of games or for watching movies, you might like that, but for first person shooters, it was just overbearingly boomy. Not really the kind of thing that suits that kind of game, because it makes it harder to make out footsteps and that kind of thing. And there's no sort of EQ on the cable itself. The cable itself just has volume up and down and a mute button, so there's no way that you can change that sound unless you change it inside, say, the EQ of your PC. Moving on to the H6s, and sound profile wise, there are 3 EQ settings in a sound card that is on this cable. So you have music, movie and game mode. Game mode will make it very bass heavy. Movie mode emphasizes the treble instead, and music kind of does neither and gives you a very flat sound profile. Movie mode's really good for first person shooters because it emphasizes the treble so that you can hear footprints better. Switching between the modes is really easy. Just press the button on the side and the LED lights up to whichever mode you're in. There's a symbol on the back here so you can easily see which mode you're in as well. And the sound coming out of these I thought was really pleasant, really easy to listen to, really good in games, quite detailed, pretty good for a budget pair of headsets. Moving on to the H9s. Now this is a slightly different setup to the H6s because standalone it is just a short 3.5mm cable, but it has a plug-in sound card, which is what I've got here. There are no EQ settings on here like you got with the H6s. I did find the sound profile in the H9s were better than the H6s out of the box without changing the EQ mode. It's less bass or treble emphasized, a little bit more neutral, but with enough treble emphasis to work well in first-person shooters. So both the H6 and the H9 have 7.1 surround sound available via the sound card that's in the audio cable. And you can turn that on, but I would avoid it. Turning it on kills any bass that was actually in these speakers. It puts the treble way too front and center, and everything's just so in your face. It actually makes it harder to work out where things are in a game. So I would definitely avoid it, because the sound actually in these out of the box is actually pretty good. The 7.1 surround sound just messes with the sound profile way too much. Now, one really awesome feature that really surprised me with these headset was the mics, because all three mics on here are detachable. Now, that is a feature that you often only see on more expensive headsets. So having it on all three here was really good. The mic quality in all three of these is also slightly different. So we're going to go do a mic test, and I'm going to compare it against the Logitech G Pros that I've got over here. This is a headset that is roughly 3 times the price of these. So it gives you a good gauge for how close these mics can get to something like this. First up are the H3s. Once you plug these in, now that is plugged in using the audio cable as well as the USB cable as well, which gives it the power for the RGB on these headsets. It has a nice pulsing RGB to it. You can't change it, unfortunately. It is just fixed on that. Still looks pretty cool though. Anyway, onto the mic test. You are now listening to the mic on the Fifine H3 headset, and you can hear what your voice would sound like if you were gaming, if you were streaming. This is what you would sound like to someone else if you were using this headset. So now we're going to be testing the H6s. That's just plugged in over a USB port into the front of my PC. And you can see the RGB glow around here as well. Same deal as the H3. It's a pulsing RGB. You can't change it. It is just fixed. Let's go test the mic. Now, I am expecting the mic on here to be better than the H3s, but we'll see. Right, so now you listen to a mic test of the mics on the Fifine Ampligame H6 headset, that you can hear what you would sound like if you were gaming and streaming. This is what you would sound like to other people if you were gaming with them. And so now we have the H9s to test as well. No RGB on this one, but it is plugged in using a USB cable straight into the PC. So you'll now listen to the mic on the Fifine Ampligame H9 headset, so that you can hear what you would sound like if you were to game, to stream, to other people. This is what you would sound like using the H9 headset. So that's the mic test of those three. And now we're going to go and test it against the Logitech G Pros, so you can compare the two, or compare the four actually. You are now listening to the mic on the Logitech G Pro headset, so that you can hear what you would sound like if you were gaming and streaming on this headset and talking to other people. So comparing the G Pro headset, the one that's 3 times the price of the Fifine ones, how do you think this mic compared to those? Do let me know in the comments down below. Now, whilst all three of these headsets have detachable mics, which is great, they don't have detachable audio cables. They are all fixed. And each audio cable on each of these is slightly different, so each one's going to suit a slightly different person. If we look at the H3s first, well, this is probably the one that's going to be most adaptable for most people, because all of the audio is done through a 3.5mm audio cable. So anything that accepts audio through a cable is going to work. So whether that's a Switch or an Xbox or a PS4 or 5 or a PC or a Mac, or even your mobile phone, if it's still got a 3.5mm jack, is going to work with this. It also has a inline remote for volume and muting, and that's pretty much it, so it is fairly basic. It does also have this USB plug attached as well, which is for power only. That's because this headset has RGB built into the ear pads, so if you wanted power, you could plug this in and then have some circulating RGB going on the side of your head, if that's your thing. Moving on to the H6s, on the audio cable have that sound card I talked about earlier, which has the different EQ modes, has the 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound button, and has a mute button on the side as well. At the end of the cable is just a USB cable. It's not going to work with like an Xbox, and it's ideally for people that have maybe a PC and a PS4 or a PS5. And this headset also has an RGB circle around the outside as well. But because your sound is over USB, it means you don't need the splitter that you had on the H3s. Both your sound and your power come through your single USB cable. So it's a much cleaner way of getting sound from a PS4, 5 or PC than the H3s are. Moving on to the H9s, this audio cable is actually in 2 parts. So it's got the 3.5mm audio cable with quite a short cable, that's probably about 1 meter, which is great for controllers or mobile devices. If you then want to plug it into, say, a PC, then you can use the sound card. Now you could use that with a PS4 or a PS5 instead if you wanted to, but it's primarily designed for PC use. You've got a clip on the back as well, so you could clip that onto your pants or your shirt or wherever you wanted to clip it, or just leave it hanging because it's not particularly heavy. And the end here is a USB cable, so that's just going to plug straight into PS4, PS5, PC over a USB. There is no RGB on this one compared to the other two, so whether that's an issue for you depends how much you like RGB. It is worth talking about the cable lengths because on the H3 it's 1.5 meters, so that's about 5 feet. On the H6s it's 2 meters or 6.6 feet, and then on the H9s 3 meters or around 10 feet. So just bear in mind how far away you are from your console or your PC or whatever as to whether that cable is going to be enough. Like for me, for instance, when I tested the H6, because it's only a 2 meter cable, I was playing it with my PS5 underneath the TV and I was sitting on the couch and the cable on here wasn't long enough to get to the console. So I just used a 2 meter USB extension cable to attach that to the PS5 and it was fine. Which one of these should you get? Well, the H3s to me really don't make much sense just because they're the same price as the H9s, because it's an audio cable, so 3.5mm, but it has that really weird sort of USB cable for the power to the RGB, which means you've got 2 power sources. And then if you want the RGB because you're plugging the USB cable in, well, you might as well just get sound over the USB cable. So you might as well just get the H6s instead. Or if you want the versatility of maybe USB or a 3.5mm jack, just get the H9s. The sound profile didn't sound that good either. It was super bassy out of the box and there's no way to change it on the headset itself. So for me, I wouldn't recommend the H3s. The H9s, on the other hand, I definitely think are worth looking at because you've got the versatility of having that shorter cable, so you can detach it from the sound card and then just have that short cable for plugging into controllers or your mobile phone or I don't know, Steam Deck or something like that. And then if you want the longer cable for say your PC, you can just plug it into your sound card and get sound over your USB cable instead. If however you mainly play on PS4, PS5 or a PC, then I would actually recommend going for the H6s because you get the sound over the USB cable here, plus that gives you the power, so you get the RGB on the headset working as well. And you get the 3 EQ modes in the sound card here. It's just a nice, cleaner solution. Just keep in mind the length of the audio cable here because it is only 2 meters. So if your console's further than that away, you might need a USB cable extender. So price-wise, they are under $40. You've got the H3s and the H9s are $37.99 and the H6s at the moment are $39.99. I will put purchase links to all of these in the description down below so that you can go check them out for yourself. If you want to check out some more headset alternatives, then be sure to check out the link up here. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and share it. Consider subscribing if you're not. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.